Take one. Everyone has a banana muffin recipe, but if you want banana muffins that look like this and they're beautifully domed, that have that beautiful brown look to them, then you're going to want to pay attention to this video. Give me 5 minutes and I'll show you exactly how to replicate these. This recipe works best when you have overripe bananas, but you don't want them to the point that the entire banana is black, and you don't want any green on the banana, but these spotted bananas work beautifully. My recipe calls for 6 bananas, but this is considered a small banana. You need a medium-sized banana for this recipe, so you're going to get 6 of these medium-sized bananas. I personally have found that when you gather all your ingredients first, you get the most success for baking recipes. So I'm going to gather all my ingredients and put it out to the right of my bowl first and foremost. And I do this for 2 reasons. First, if I'm going to open my cupboards when I have ingredients on my hands or my hands are dirty, then I mess up my cupboard. So it's just best to get everything while you have clean hands. And secondly, once you've used an ingredient, shift it over to the left side of the bowl. That way you won't miss an ingredient. If you want to get this big, nice dome at the top of the muffin, you're going to have to fill every other well so that the heat distributes evenly around each and every one of the muffins. I find that a potato smasher works well to mash up your bananas. Keep mixing until it looks like this. We're working on our dry ingredients next. It's best to always sift out your dry ingredients so that you avoid all the lumps and bumps. You're going to sift together your baking powder, your baking soda, and your flour. If you don't go through a lot of baking powder and baking soda, make sure it's fresh, otherwise your muffins won't rise. Shifting around the mixture with a wooden spoon works really well. We're moving back to the bananas where we're going to add a couple of wet ingredients. I'm going to start off with vanilla, then add melted butter, as well as the eggs. Whatever you do, don't shortchange yourself on the vanilla. It makes all the difference. Melted butter instead of oil gives it so much more flavor. Your eggs should be at room temperature to prevent the butter from seizing. Back to the masher to mix it all up. Even though sugar is a dry ingredient, we're adding it into the wet mixture so that it dissolves before we add the flour. It's really important that you use unsalted butter and that you add a pinch of salt later on so that you know the exact amount of salt that goes in, and it takes away that raw flour flavor of any baked good. So don't forget the salt. The last ingredient is cinnamon, and if you know, bananas and cinnamon go so well together. But if you have somebody who doesn't enjoy cinnamon, you can absolutely omit this one ingredient. However, it adds a whole nother layer of flavor. So I'm adding it. You're going to mash and mix the wet ingredients for a good solid 60 seconds until you don't feel the graminess of the sugar. At this point, you're going to trade in your masher for a spatula. Now gently add your flour into the bowl without getting it outside of the bowl. We're going to gently fold the flour in until there's no streaks of dry flour. This takes about 10 to 15 folds. Add chocolate or nuts at this point if you'd like. We're still seeing a little bit of dry flour, so you still need to fold a few more times. If you recall, I never asked for you to preheat the oven because we're going to let this batter rest for about 15 minutes. So I'm going to preheat the oven now, and we're not doing it to 350, we're doing it to 400. The first 5 minutes that this batter bakes will be at 400, and then we drop the temperature. So while this is resting for 15 minutes, I'm going to go and preheat my oven. Instead of using an ice cream scooper, you're going to use a measuring cup so that there's an equal amount of batter in each of these wells. For this particular recipe, we need ½ a cup of batter for each muffin tin. Fill up the measuring cup using a spatula. Avoid all the air pockets. Fill it right to the top. Using the spatula, release the batter from the measuring cup into the liner. So these are going into the oven at 400 degrees for 5 minutes. Drop the temperature to 350 and leave it in there for 20 to 25 minutes. All right, it's time to take them out. And they look absolutely beautiful. We're going to do a toothpick test just to be sure. Okay, now don't lose your toothpick because these are quite high. And it goes in, and it's coming out super clean. They're done. For more awesome baking and cooking recipes, hit that follow button, subscribe, and like this video. Love to see you soon.